Hello, dear friends. This is your Dairyguru Kuldeep Sharma speaking to you today. And today we have chosen a very important topic for all the entrepreneurs who want to set up a dairy plant. And today we will be discussing 5 points before evaluating market demand for a dairy project. The first point starts with that you have to look at your city or town and you have to note down somewhere what is the population. And in that you have to put up the moving population, the people who come daily. Maybe your city is a tehsil or a district center or a town where judiciary and other things are there and people are coming in. So you have to look at that transiting or moving population coming in and compute the total population that way. After then you choose to look into the food preferences of your region. You please choose the food preferences from the perspective of that what are the key input or key foods available for protein intake. It has been seen that in the region where meat or meat products and particularly fish like coastal areas or like northeast or eastern India for that matter, where protein intake is done with fish or meat products, in those kind of region the per capita consumption of milk is low, but it is very high in North India. So in India you can average it out to be somewhere from 100 milliliter per capita to 400 milliliter per capita. But looking into the diversity of the country, we will have to average out something. So I say that whatever the population of your town is, consider an average per capita consumption of 200 ml. And in that particular case, whatever the population is, 20% of that population is the total milk demand of your city or town. It is as a rule of thumb I am sharing with you, again in Indian context. And it is applicable in other countries also, similar, like in Sri Lanka it is around 100 ml, but in let's say Nepal and Bhutan around 150 ml, and in case of Sudan, Kenya, Iran it is much more, it is 250 ml. Sudan also it is 250 ml. In Kenya also it is around 250 ml. I think it has more to do with the kind of cultural cultural similarities which we have got, and the kind of demographic profile which we have got. So that is how you compute the total milk demand. Now you also check simultaneously that out of that particular demand, how much milk is coming from the organized sector. And believe you me, in most of the country and in most of the developing countries and most part of, let's say, India, we have seen that unorganized sector is still strong, barring few metros or mini metros. Now we have to look at, once this milk demand is evaluated, so we come to the third point where we have to look for demand for value added products. So again, we have checked the data of many cities where large companies are selling their product. So what we have seen that say the population of a town is around 100,000, so 20% of that is 20,000 liters. So 20,000 liters of milk is there on per day basis as a demand for milk. Now 20% of that, in most areas in North India, we have seen 20% of that 20,000 liter is the demand for curd or dahi or related products. So it means that in a town of 100,000, you may have a demand of around 20,000 liters of milk, and around 20% of that, that is 4,000 liter of curd per day. Now again, it has to be seen how much of it is met through organized sector or unorganized sector. And then around 20% of that is the curd, is going to be a regular demand for paneer, that is the soft cheese. So in that case, it comes out to be 400 kgs of paneer. And then again 20% of that is close to, let us say, 80 kgs. So 80 kgs is the demand for mozzarella cheese or pizza cheese in that particular city. So this is how the total profile comes up. So on that basis, if you multiply it with, let's say, 10, then you are going to get the demand for any city having a population of let us say 1 million. So you can decide on what should be the profile of your product mix. The fourth point which we would like to cover is we have to look into the impact on profit for each of these decisions. I think milk gives you least of profit, but it gives you profit, that small profit on daily basis. So it's a good cash flow business. So in that particular case, you can look for milk as a good opportunity if you can go for a volume, and you can relate yourself to the volume growth. For other products, the margins are much higher, and so you have to add on. And our rule of thumb says that as early as possible, you have to reach to a level where milk is contributing only 70% of the total revenue in terms of value, and rest should come through other value-added products. Last point is, when you go for all these products, then what are the regulatory clearances? So regulatory clearances are least when it comes to only selling milk, because from pollution perspective, milk processing is not being considered a very serious business. But the moment you shift yourself from milk to particularly cheese and related products, or products which require sugar, or let's say which are very high in fat, let's say butter and ghee, in that particular case you may end up reaching to those zones where dairy is considered in red zone, and maybe you won't be allowed to do such kind of products in that area. So with this, from the perspective of town to your own location and the market demand, now you take a call. But again, we have to do a pre-feasibility. It's better to get some kind of market research done before taking a call entering into dairy industry. Thank you very much.